Hello friends, so let's start the topic sight distance, which is under geometric design, and it is also a very important part of highway engineering and for gate purpose also. So let's start sight distance. In this video we will discuss about types of sight distance, what is sight distance, and mainly stopping sight distance. So let's start. Now, the first question is, what is sight distance? As per definition, the sight distance is the distance along the road surface at which a driver has visibility of objects. Maybe this is stationary or moving at a specified height above the carriageway is known as sight distance. Now, what that definition means actually. Sight distance is visibility of any object from the eye level of driver from a particular height of ground as per ISRO is known as sight distance. As per this example, you can see, suppose this blue car is entering into this curve and this black car is leaving this curve. The sight distance is the distance from the eye level of this blue car to the end of this black car. This distance is known as sight distance, and the sight line is perpendicular distance from the eye level of this blue car to the end of this black car is known as sight line. Sight distance can be circular, can be straight line. This is depends on the types of road or lane, but the sight line always should be perpendicular. Move on to the next part. Types of sight distance. There are mainly three types of sight distance: stopping sight distance or absolute minimum sight distance, overtaking or passing sight distance, safe sight distance for entering into the uncontrolled intersection. Now, stopping sight distance and overtaking sight distance is important for gate purpose and as well as your semester also. So we will briefly discuss stopping sight distance and overtaking sight distance along with few examples of gate examinations. So in this video I will briefly discuss about stopping sight distance. So let's start. So, what is stopping sight distance? It is a distance required by a driver of a vehicle traveling at a given speed to bring his or her vehicle to a stop after an object on the roadway becomes visible. And because of its importance to safety, all highways must be designed for the minimum stopping sight distance. Now, what that definition means actually? I can give you an example. Suppose there is a car and sorry for this type of drawing, and this car is moving with certain velocity v. Suppose the driver suddenly found a object, this can be stationary or moving, in front of this car. Now, the stopping sight distance means that after watching this object, the driver should press the brake, and after pressing the brake, the distance which will be covered by this car to avoid the collision is known as stopping sight distance. In easy way, we can say that the distance will cover by this car after pressing the brake is known as stopping sight distance. Okay, so move on to next point. This image shows the safety property or the condition which will help to avoid the collision. Suppose as per this example, the driver of this bus or the second car suddenly found a lower velocity vehicle in front of his car. Suppose the height of the vehicle from the ground is 0.15 meter as you can see in the picture, and the eye level of the bus driver or the second car is at the 1.2 meter height from the ground. If this condition will appear, then the bus driver or the second car driver can easily avoid the collision. So as per IRC, you can easily understand if the eye level of the second car's driver is at the 1.2 meter height from the ground and the object height is 0.15 meter from the ground, then the collision can be easily neglected. Then the driver can easily avoid the collision. Okay, and as you can see in this picture, the perpendicular distance from the eye level of the bus driver or the second car driver to the end of the first car is known as sight line, and the distance from the second car to the first car is known as side distance, stopping side distance. This should not be straight line, this can be circular. So move on to next part. Okay, reaction time. Now what is reaction time? As per previous example, I told you that a car driver suddenly found an moving object or a steel object in front of his car. Okay, now the reaction time means after watching the object or any kind of danger and before taking any kind of action to stop the car, that time duration is called reaction time. I'm gonna draw that picture again. Suppose this is a car which is moving with a velocity v and suddenly found an object in front of this car. After watching the object, suppose this is the time, this is the particular time at which the driver seeing the object, and suppose this is the next time at which driver is going to take the action, that means pressing the brake. This time duration is known as reaction time. The reaction time does not mean that the car will come to the zero velocity position. This is before taking any kind of action. And the total reaction time can be basically classified into two parts, that is perception time plus brake reaction time. But if we classified the reaction time minutely as per the theory, that is PIEV theory, the reaction time can be classified into four parts. So in PIEV theory, P stands for perception, that means to see the object. I stands for intellection, that means understand the situation. E stands for emotion, that means overcome fear, anger, anxiety, any kind of emotion. V means volition, the time of taking action. The reaction time is the combination of PIEV, that is perception, intellection, emotion and volition. If these four combination is finished, the driver is going to take the final action. So move on to next part. The total reaction time as per IRC is 2.5 seconds, and this 2.5 seconds the car moves a certain distance, it's called the lag distance, and after pressing the brake the car moves, the distance is termed as braking distance. That means this is the reaction time. Suppose if this duration is reaction time, the distance which is covered by the vehicle, which is known as lag distance, and after pressing the brake the car will move a certain distance. Now this distance, after pressing the brake this distance is known as braking distance, and the total distance is known as stopping side distance. So what we get, stopping side distance is the summation of lag distance and braking distance. Lag distance means after watching the object and before taking any kind of action, and braking distance means after taking the action or pressing the brake, the car will move certain distance. This distance is known as braking distance, and stopping side distance is the summation of braking distance and lag distance. Okay, so move on to next part. Now, as per IRC, the formula of stopping side distance is Vt plus V square by 2gf. There is a derivation of this formula in any kind of transportation book, and I will suggest you to follow the Khanna Jutsu. This is a great book for transportation engineering purpose, and you can find the derivation of this formula, that stopping side distance equal to V into T plus V square by 2gf, in that book. Okay, I'm not gonna deriving that. If you have any problem, you can contact me in below mail ID. Okay, now in this formula, V means the velocity of vehicle in meter per second, T is the reaction time, that is 2.5 seconds, G is the specific gravity, F is the longitudinal friction, which I had told in the first video. The value of the longitudinal friction is approximately 0.35 to 0.4, and the Vt, this first term, is lag distance, which I had described in previous slide, and the V square by 2gf, this term is called braking distance. Okay, and this formula we can apply for the horizontal road, but if the road is inclined, or if there is any kind of slope in the road, the formula will change slightly. So stopping side distance in case of inclined surface, if the road is in ascending position, that means increasing the slope, the stopping side distance should be Vt plus V square by 2 into G whole into F plus in percentage. This in percentage means slope of the ground. This will term as in percentage. This should be provided into the question, so do not worry about this. And for the descending gradient, suppose this is the descending gradient, the SSD should be Vt plus V square by 2 into G into F minus in percentage. For ascending, the term should be F plus in percentage. For descending, the term should be F minus in percentage. Okay, now there are certain rules for stopping side distance for different type of road. For single lane and one way road, the minimum SSD, sometimes in gate examination they will ask for minimum SSD, but the students will miss this minimum term. Okay, so for single lane one way, okay, I had described what is lane and what is way, what is single lane, what is one way in previous video. If you didn't watch that, so I will recommend you, please watch that video first, otherwise you can't understand what the single lane or double lane, one way, two way, the word means. Okay, minimum stopping side distance. For different types of road, the minimum stopping side distance should be different. For single lane one way, the value of minimum stopping side distance is SSD. For single lane two way, the minimum value of SSD should be 2 into SSD, and for two lane two way, it should be SSD. Okay. So hope you guys like this video, and if you have any kind of question or any kind of doubt, you can ask me in my mail ID. And if you want to know my GATE experience, if you have any kind of question about the GATE examination, so feel free to ask me, and I provided my mail ID in below. So hope you guys like this video again, and thank you. Please subscribe for more information about civil engineering. Thank you.